There are some negative effects of social media on mental health. Let's look into that today. Social media has become a big part of our lifestyle, our culture. It affects us too. And there's a lot of studies that haven't even been done yet. In other words, we don't know yet the full effect of social media on our mental health, on our relationships, on other aspects of our life. And I anticipate that over the next several years, we will be seeing more about that. We already know a few things. I had a guest here not too long ago, James Garrett, and you can link to my video with him right up there, where he shared with us that there are two modes of brain functioning. So we have, the brief version is we have this executive functioning that's centered in the prefrontal area of our brain. This is where we pay attention to things and we accomplish tasks and we think things through. It's all about logic and reason and problem solving. That executive functioning part of our brain. And then we have another mode that's going on in our brain that's really more creative. James referred to it as mind wandering, which sounds like your brain's not doing anything. Well, it is doing something, but it's a very different mode of functioning that gets out of the prefrontal part of your brain and into the parts that are more creative or playful. He also compared this brain functioning to the cell phone battery. You know, you get that little icon on your cell phone that tells you how much juice you have in your battery. And some parts of our functioning diminish that and other parts recharge it. Something that we found out about social media is when you go to your social media feed and you're swiping through and you're checking things and you're responding to things, it actually requires that prefrontal part of your brain to do that. So instead of giving ourselves a break, we're actually continuing to diminish the energy of our brain as we engage that executive functioning mode of our brain. Now that's neither good nor bad, but the thing is, usually when we go to our social media, let's say that you're at work, okay? And heaven forbid you're wasting your employer's time, right? But you know how sometimes you just get tired and you want a little break. So you go to your social media feed on your phone or on your computer. The whole point that we were making in that other video is this does not replenish your brain. This doesn't recharge you like, say, a brisk walk might, or taking a nap, which is actually a good brain healthy thing that you can do. It continues to diminish, so it's not the kind of break that you're looking for. When it comes to mental health, we want to look at some other things that might affect our mental health related to social media. And one of those I'm going to call the evaluation trap. Your mind has to evaluate things. And notice that you're constantly doing this. You're constantly judging yourself. You're judging your job. You're judging your family. You're judging your finances. You're judging me. It's okay, I'm judging you too. We do this all the time, right? We're constantly evaluating. In social media, we have a constant exposure to standards. Now, I'm just going to use that word standards as a way that we come up with images that we can compare against to do our judgment. What you're going to notice in social media is that people tend to post whatever they choose to post, and it's not always an actual reflection of reality. It's simply a selection from their experience or their images or their life that they have chosen to put up there intentionally. Now, here's the trap. We start to compare our weaknesses to their strengths. Have you ever noticed that you do that? So this is a pitfall, and it can take a real hit on our mental health. Okay, now let's go to relationships for just a minute. And this is something that you've probably noticed. Have you ever been in a restaurant, for example, and you see two people sitting at the same table with each other, and they're both doing what I call the cell phone prayer. You know the cell phone prayer where your hands come together and you bow your head, right? And you're looking at this thing. You've got a person with you and you're connected to your device. Social media has a tendency to draw us in where we're focused here instead of here with the person that we're actually with. So it becomes a substitute for a real connection with an actual person. Put down the device and connect with the person. Now, here's another one that comes up that probably pertains mostly to young people, but not necessarily, because I've seen examples with other people as well, and that is the potential for cyberbullying. This is where social media can be used as a platform for actually bullying another person. And there have been all kinds of cases that have been reported where children, especially in a school environment, for example, will be a target of bullying through social media, and it leads to very negative and unpleasant consequences for that youth and also for the other people who are connected to them. There have been some studies that have suggested, going back to the evaluation trap that I mentioned earlier, when we make that judgment, that evaluation of ourselves based on a standard that we've found on Pinterest or on Facebook or on Instagram, it tends to have a depleting or diminishing effect on our confidence, our self-esteem, how we judge or evaluate ourselves, even if it's positive. Now, this might surprise some people, but I've seen that this is true with some of my own experience. When we see on social media, for example, that we're better off than someone else, it tends to have a negative effect, just like when we see that we're worse off than someone else. This is kind of weird, and it might be backwards from what we've learned in actual face-to-face interactions and relationships with people. It seems that that extra layer of social media and that distance that we have from it tends to make the evaluation more of a problem, even if it's positive. That surprised me a little bit to find that out. There's been a lot of talk in recent years about addiction and how social media might lead to addictive patterns. This is also true in gaming, which might be even more addictive because of the way the game is designed to keep someone's attention and keep them engaged in that activity. We see it with social media too. For example, every time someone likes your post, you get a little bump, a little shot of dopamine into your system. That's the feel-good chemical. That's the one that makes you feel satisfied and happy. When you get a notification, let's say that your phone is in your pocket or it's sitting off to the side or something, and you hear that little buzz, okay, a little notification, it tends to give a little bump of cortisol, which is a whole different chemical. This is the stress chemical. And it's because it's an alarm, it's an alert. It activates your system to attend to whatever it was. You don't even know yet if it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You just know that you need to attend to it, and that causes a little state of alarm. It's not huge, but it's enough that when it's repeated over time, it tends to have an impact on how you feel. Does social media have an effect on mental health? Yeah, it does. We don't even know all of the ways that it does yet. But let's pay attention to what we do know to see if we can get on top of that a little bit more. I thought it was kind of ironic that we're talking about the negative effects of social media on mental health here on my YouTube channel, but I'm glad you're here. I'm hoping this is helping your mental health.